I have Jude Kelly. She is founder of World of Women Festival from UK. And could you tell us about World of Women Festival, which will take place in Istanbul 2020?
So it's a festival celebrating all that girls and women have achieved in life, which is amazing, the amount of things that women have done over history, and looking at the progress that have been made, and then thinking about what the future could look like for girls and women. What other ambitions, what other dreams, and what other obstacles could be overcome to have a fantastic life for girls and women.
What are the common problem of all women in the world, in the UK and in Turkey, other countries?
Well, unfortunately, there are some very common problems wherever you are in the world. One of them is economic problem, women not having enough economic independence, not having enough sense that they have economic justice. Sometimes, of course, the very poor countries, they have almost nothing, but even in countries that are very rich or very developed, like Turkey or the UK, in the big cities, the inequality in terms of women's wealth is very extreme. The other problem that women have all over the world is violence, particularly domestic violence. There's nowhere in the world where that is not a problem. Even Scandinavian countries that have very strong women's rights, domestic violence is still an issue. And so we need the whole world to care enough about changing this. And I think the third thing that women all over the world are concerned about is why still the huge amount of responsibility for domestic work, looking after children, looking after parents, raising the family, running the home, why it still lands entirely almost on the woman's shoulders when she also has to work for economic reasons. And so women are very tired, they're very stressed, and they want things to change. And why not?
Okay. There's always a saying that women will change the world. Do you really think women can change the world, and how?
Well, I think women have already changed the world, because the fact that women are now part of public life, 100 years ago women didn't have the vote, they didn't have birth control, they didn't have education by and large, and since women have entered the education space, the workforce, since women have entered the political space, I think women's sensibilities and women's life experiences have changed the world for the better. We do have a more peaceful world, we do have a more equal world, and we do have a world where women's voices are heard more often. But it's not enough. It's not equal enough yet. And actually, when you see very strong male societies emerging, they often are quite warlike. There's often a lot of violence. There's a lot of political threat. And I think women need to carry on being absolutely central to both public space and domestic space so that we can have a more peaceful and more prosperous world.
What kind of problem can be solved if a sisterhood is established in the world?
I think if sisterhood is established, I think that there will be less violence. I think that we will have a different kind of economy. I think that we will look at parenting differently, and that will be very good for men. They'll have a different relationship with their children. And I also think that we will tackle climate change differently, because women will want a world where we are not just concerning ourselves with financial ambition, but we're thinking about community cohesion and community wealth. And I think that is the key to a lot of peace and stability.
Do you think the issue of gender equality is just a problem of women?
No, I think gender equality obviously is a problem for men. Men have been taught throughout their whole lives for hundreds of years that they need to have more power than women, that they're not fully masculine unless they have more power than women, that somehow they're not proper men unless they can keep a woman in their place. Now, not all men believe this, but many do. And it's a pressure on men, and it makes them behave in ways that aren't good enough for human rights. So we need to rethink this idea.